This is Zach Moss, NFL running back and former Utah Utes running back. You're listening to the Utah Utes Football Digest, the source for Utah Utes football. Go Utes.
All right, what is up, guys? This is Joseph here with the Utah Utes Football Digest, coming back at you with another video. This week, Utah is going to go up against Stanford. Pretty big game for us. Honestly, next week we're going to be playing Arizona. So Stanford's, they're not a walk in a park. It's definitely a game we should win, but they are not just going to let us run them over. We are going to have some things we need to do to win the game, but it is very winnable. If we can get through this, then we play Arizona, who is one of the worst teams in all of college football, which should be, there's no given wins in football. But if there is any on our schedule, Arizona is probably the one. It feels kind of like playing Weber State, right? Like, you knew for sure, like, it wasn't a given that we'd win, but, 99% chance you win. It's kind of how I feel about Arizona. But don't worry about that for now. For now, we're here to talk about Stanford and what we need to do to win that game. Before we dive into it, I want to talk a little bit about the outlook of what we have. So we are really looking like we have a good shot to win the Pac-12 South. Looks really achievable, and I would say more than achievable. It looks likely that it's going to happen. We still play Oregon before the year's over, and that's really our big test before we finish the year. But we're predicted to beat Oregon. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw, but when the CFP playoff midseason, like who would make the playoffs in the midseason, Oregon was one of the 4 teams. So that should get us really excited about what the national college football, media and perception is of Utah. It's a really big deal that people think so highly of us, so that's really exciting for us. Another thing is I think our team has really found an identity. I've touched on it a lot the past few weeks. But we've gone from a team that was just trying to kind of figure out a way to move the ball, back when we had Brewer, and we're kind of just switching in and out the running backs and hoping for the best. We've really become a team that is now not just finding ways to move the ball. We have an identity. And that identity is between Cam Rising, Tavion Thomas, and Devin Lloyd, right? We have a group of 3 guys that are legit stars in college football that are on this team, and they're also leaders. It's really exciting to see where we go. On that note, guys, we're going to go ahead and dive right in. The first thing that we're going to start with is Stanford's offense. So Stanford's offense is averaging 340 yards per game. They're the 103rd best offense in all of college football, so nothing very impressive when it comes to yards per game. 91.4 rush yards per game, which puts them at 123rd in the country for rush yards, which is, pretty terrible. That means they're one of the worst rushing teams in the country. And then they are at 249 pass yards per game, which puts them as the 50th best team in the country at passing the ball. So I wouldn't say they're amazing at passing the ball, but they're pretty good at it. This is a good passing team. We definitely can't underestimate it. Now let's talk a little about the PFF grades for their offense. So Tanner McKee is the quarterback. He is a pretty good quarterback. As of now, there's no confirmation if he'll be starting or not. We could get one later in the week. But either way, he's not super great. He's a 67.6 grade, a 66.8 passing grade, and a 61.1 rushing grade. So what we're talking about with this guy is an average quarterback. He's not to be taken lightly, but he's an average quarterback, and we're going to need to try to make him make mistakes, right? I feel like a lot of it's going to be on coaching. A lot of shutting down Tanner McKee is going to be on coaching, right? When we have a team that is good at passing the ball. Stanford is a very good team at passing the ball, and if the quarterback's grading out that poorly, we need to find ways to make him make mistakes. They have 2 one-dimensional running backs. Number 8 is the runner, and number 20 is the receiver. Neither one of them is very great at football or an extremely good football player. Neither one of them is terrible. They were both graded in like the mid to high 60s, so they're just okay. That's probably why they struggle running the ball. And then they have 3 wide receivers, a 73.9, a 69.3, and a 68.3. Those are pretty good wide receivers. We're talking about, pretty solid wide receiver room. Definitely a group that we're going to need to shut down in order to make this happen. From what I'm looking at there, obviously when we have a quarterback that's not grading out super well and then a receiving core that's grading out pretty well, probably going to want to zone him out, right? Make the quarterback make the mistakes. If we can force him to make mistakes against some of our better coverage defenders, then we can get turnovers and our offense can capitalize, which we should be able to do a lot of in this game. Okay, so just to recap that first part, Tanner McKee, quarterback. Then they have 3 pretty good receivers, 2 one-dimensional running backs. Number 8 is the runner, and number 20 is the receiver. Stanford also has a very good receiving tight end, number 84. He is a good receiving threat. It's pretty obvious what the strengths of this team is. It is they want to throw the ball on you. From what I see, they don't do a fantastic job of that. Probably some because of quarterback struggles. Just overall, though, they just don't do a fantastic job, but it can hurt us if we let it. They have a decent offensive line. I looked it up and down. Just one huge hole at tackle. He was like a grade below 50. It was pretty bad. But other than that, it's a pretty decent line. Nothing spectacular. A mix of pass blockers and run blockers. So if they're really going to try to throw the ball on us, which I think they're going to have to if they want any shot at winning this game, we can take advantage of that really bad tackle and some of their guys that are more of run blockers. All right, now let's talk about Stanford's defense. So Stanford's defense is allowing 404 yards per game total. That means they're 74th in the country. It's not terrible, but it's definitely getting in that range where it's they're not a good defense. They allow 208 rushing yards per game, which is 114th in the country. That's pretty bad. That means you're one of the easiest teams to run against in the country. And they allow 195.6 pass yards per game, which is 23rd in the country. That is really good. That means they're one of the better pass defenses in the country. So now let's talk about this defense. So their safeties, both of them are pretty bad, nothing special. One is a decent run defender, one is an average in coverage. I don't think either one of them are someone we have to avoid in our game plan. I would say we can just keep working our game plan around these guys and take the shots when they're there. A really bad linebacker room for these guys. A pretty rough go here. They had one good cornerback. The cornerback was pretty good. He was a 75 coverage grade, and then they had a group of okay corners. Definitely the strong part of their pass defense game is going to be this group of corners. The safeties don't be seeming to do a lot to help them out. And the linebacker room was pretty terrible. A lot of one-dimensional guys. One was a 62 grade, one was a 55 grade, and one was a 51 grade. Overall, that's real bad. The interior D-line is even worse. One was a 61 grade, one was a 56 grade, and one was a 41 grade. I don't know if you guys keep up with PFF too much, but that group right there, that linebacker room and that interior D-line, that is what I would call their biggest weakness. That is a really bad group of guys. We'll talk about it more. I mean, if you know anything about what our teams look like lately, you know we really know how to run the ball. And when you have a front seven like that for Stanford, I can't imagine that we don't take advantage of that. Stanford also has 2 good edge rushers. One is an impressive pass rusher, and both are very good in coverage. So even though their front seven's real bad, their edge defenders are still pretty good. All right, and then that is going to kind of round up Stanford's team. you can kind of tell when we're looking at their defense, you can see why they struggle so much against the run with that front seven. We should be able to have a big game from Tavion Thomas. We'll touch on him in a minute. The Utah offense is what we're going to talk about next. We're averaging 412 yards per game, which is 51st in the country. And don't forget, that's also considering those few games where Charlie Brewer was the starter. That is factored in there. We average 192 rush yards per game, which is 35th in the country. That's pretty good. And then 220 pass yards per game, which is 77th in the country, which is kind of bad. But don't forget, last time we didn't have a lot of pass yards in the game we played last week against UCLA. But a big reason for that was we were just running the ball so damn well against them. We didn't really need to throw once the game got going. We needed to run. So, all right, so let's talk about this team. So Cam Rising, he is right now ranked the 36th QB in the entire country. He's a great passer and a good runner with a 84.4 grade, I believe. Very impressive. Like I said, he's one of the leaders on this team. I don't think Cam Rising is one of those guys that's defined by the stats. He comes through in the clutch like almost nobody I've ever seen. I mean, the way this guy just scrambles out of the pocket and runs for 10, 15 yards to get a first down is really impressive. And the way he seems to just make plays with his arm as well when he has to is really impressive as well. I'm excited to see what he can do in this game. Obviously, we just talked about their defense. They are going to want to shut down our pass and stack the box against the run. So I would love to see how we could work in some read options, right? Some ways for Cam Rising to use his legs as a complement to our running backs. That'd be really awesome to see. Now moving on to our receivers. Britton Covey continues to do well. The rest are kind of in the PFF grades. They're just above a 60, which is, average to below average. One guy that I don't think gets enough credit through PFF is Vele. Obviously, PFF grades every play. I just see what I see when I'm watching him. Vele does seem to come through in some of the clutch situations to make plays. He's had some one-handed grabs. He's had some, he got that flea flicker at the end of the half against USC. The guy does make a lot of plays out of nowhere. And then the big guy we're going to need to talk about is going to be Tavion Thomas. Now, Tavion Thomas is the 5th ranked running back in the entire country for PFF right now. So super impressive. He should have quite a day. Seriously, just so you guys understand, he's the 5th ranked running back in the entire country. Tavion Thomas is super good, super talented. And if you don't know the name, you might as well know it now. This guy is looking like a pro talent. He went from someone I didn't want to see the field to someone that I couldn't be happier that he's seeing the field. And he's really killing it. Super excited to what this kid has become. And he's really become one of the big identities of this offense. 4 touchdowns last week, 160-plus yards. The guy's an animal. I think we're going to just see him continue to get better and continue to become a dominant force. And I think this week against Stanford is going to be a big one for him. We saw what that front seven looked like for Stanford. I don't see them breaking. I don't see Tavion Thomas having too many runs where he doesn't break at least one tackle or get at least, 3 to 5 yards on a carry. So excited to see him. Obviously, Bernard and Pledger are solid backs too. They're going to be getting some reps, I'm sure, throughout the game. I think we're going to see probably one of our highest rush yard games ever. 1, they're good against the pass. 2, they're really bad against the run. Stanford is. So we're going to need to work all these guys in, keep them fresh, and keep racking up yards. Okay, now moving on to our tight end room. Our tight end room continues to be one of the best in the country. Dalton Kincaid is a really good receiver. Keithy is a pretty good receiver. And Fotheringham is an okay receiver and a great run blocker. Seriously, Fotheringham has kind of come out of nowhere to be really impressive in PFF grades and just in general. The guy's really kind of blossomed into a great player. Just kind of that tough-nosed guy where he's going to see a lot of reps this week. I'd be shocked if he didn't. He's a good run blocker, and we're going to need to run a lot. I'm not going to be surprised if he does get a ton of reps. And Kincaid's not a bad blocker either. So I look to see both of them getting a lot. So obviously our O-line has kind of been a tough spot for our team. They do continue to have their struggles. I know that Nick Ford has gotten that offensive lineman of the week for the Pac-12 multiple times. I have no idea why, guys. I'm not trying to be a jerk to Nick Ford. He seems like a nice guy. The thing is, they are struggling, right? We have a bright spot. I don't want to be too negative. I feel like Nick Ford has just become a household name for some reason, where a guy like Daniels, number 71, is actually by far our most talented offensive lineman, and he deserves the real recognition. But let's not focus on the negative. Our offensive line has a bright spot in run blocking. They seem to do pretty well as a unit there, even though on average they're not grading very well. The good news is the tackles have become a group that's playing quite well. Olaseni and Daniels, number 71 and 77. Daniels is a 75.9 PFF grade and a 67.4 grade for Olaseni. Hopefully those two keep it going, because these edge rushers are good. If they could lock those guys down one-on-one, that would really lead us to a good night. Let our interior offensive line go one-on-one against some of these interior defenders, and that should work itself out really well. And now let's go ahead and talk about Utah's defense. So Utah's defense. Our defense is averaging 385.1 yards per game allowed. Of that, 163.4 rush yards allowed, which is 73rd in the country. That's pretty bad. Obviously, we've struggled pretty severely against the run. And then 221.7 pass yards per game allowed, which is 51st in the country, a little above average. I think our defense matches up pretty well with their offense, right? I think a lot of the time we play good run teams, and the good run teams are able to run against our weak run defense, which means we have to stack our linebackers against the run. Because this team isn't very special at running the ball, I think we match up really well. We should be able to let our linebackers drop back in coverage, zone them out, and let them make plays on the ball. So that's exciting. And then with our corner room, let's start there. None of them are especially good. All of our corners are, struggling in coverage. There's not one good coverage corner. Fabian Marks, number 23, is a solid run defender, and we have one or two other guys that are solid against the run, but overall just not a great group in coverage, which, as much as you want your corners to be decent against the run, ideally corners need to be good against the pass. That's kind of what they're there for. Now let's go ahead and move along to our safety room. Our safety room, Davis still looks really good. Vontae Davis, number 9. McKinney's still struggling. He's number 28. Davis is really good, or great in coverage, and good against the run. We're going to need Davis to make plays over the top. He's going to have to be ball hawking all night if these guys try to go deep on us. I don't think our corners can keep up with these guys all night, so he's going to need a big game. McKinney, hopefully he can just not be a liability. He does come through in the clutch every now and then, to give him his own credit. I do see him make a play every now and then when it's needed. And definitely last week, maybe he struggled and messed up some assignments every now and then. But overall, he did make a play or two that was pretty impressive. Okay, our linebackers are still definitely our strongest group. Lloyd looks great in coverage and great in the pass rush, while being really good against the run. Sewell looks very, very good against the run and pretty good in coverage. And then we got Fury, who's pretty good in coverage as well. I think it's going to be important that we, get all these linebackers out there and have them assist in coverage against this, pretty solid Stanford passing game. And then onto our interior D-line. Number 41 on the D-line is pretty good, decent in pass rush and decent in run stop. Number 98 is not very good against the run, but this team isn't good at running, right? This team is actually really good at throwing the ball. So number 98 is very good against the pass, or getting a pass rush. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him have a pretty good night. If he's getting back there, it can help out a lot. I'd expect number 98 to be on the field a lot. Tafua is really our only good edge rusher. Fillinger had that one decent game, but other than that, it's been kind of a rough go. But, Tafua, number 42, is a really good edge. He's really good against the run and really good in the pass rush. Hopefully, we can expect him to have a pretty big night. If he gets any matchups against that really bad tackle they have, it should be a bad time for that guy. But overall, that's kind of breaks down everything about both teams. Now, let me just give you a specific game plan about our offense against their defense. We're probably going to have a little bit of struggles throwing the ball against them. I mean, nothing surprised me with Cam Rising. He always seems to kind of make something happen, but nothing surprised me with him. But I would imagine we're going to try to steer away from the pass because they are very good against it. But we should be able to run the ball really at will on these guys. We are one of the better running offenses in the country. I know the numbers might not play that out, but I'm telling you, I think we've all seen it, right? We can run the ball on people. I'm expecting Fotheringham to be in there a lot like we talked about. I think our O-line can actually run block pretty well against this front seven. This could be a fun night for them. The first night where you really feel like they came out and showed up strong. Like I said, I think Tavion Thomas is going to have a pretty crazy game, guys. I think all of our running backs are going to get involved. I think this is going to be a pretty big night for our run game. When it comes to yards, like rushing yards, I wouldn't be surprised if we had over 250 rushing yards. I think we're going to run the ball a lot. We're going to control the clock. We're going to put them in a spot where they have to force the ball on offense with that pass game. Once we get a couple touchdowns with the run, then we're draining that clock. They're going to start to press, and they're going to start to have issues. Now let's talk about our defense against the Stanford offense. They are not good at running the ball. That's been pretty evident in the entire breakdown. They are decent at throwing it, right? Above average at throwing the ball. We're going to need all of our linebackers to help in coverage. Davis, Sewell, Fury. I wouldn't be surprised if Fury's getting more reps. And Davis needs to be really good over the top. Number 9, our safety Davis, he needs to be good over the top. I wouldn't be surprised to see lots of reps with our good coverage guys. Like I said, we probably are going to want to zone out Tanner McKee, force him to make mistakes, let these receivers try to make plays. Bend but don't break. One of our best features, we bend but don't break, right? We're getting out there, we're getting in their face, but we're not giving up the big plays, right? We'll give them 5 yards here and there, and that's okay. Force them to make mistakes. Make them do 20-play drives. That's what you want. That's what you want to do with a team that wants to throw the ball. All right, now my final prediction. So I think I've been alluding to this a lot. I think we are going to be able to run the ball down their throats, guys. I think this is going to be a really good matchup for our offense and for our defense. We're better against the run than we are against the pass, and we're better at running the ball than we are at throwing it. I think we're going to run the ball down their throats. I think Tavion Thomas is going to have another huge night. I think Bernard's going to get involved, number 2, and I think Pledger, number 5, is going to get involved as well. And maybe we'll even see Chris Curry, number 0, get some passes or get some reps as well. I think we're going to do a lot of spreading the ball. I think we're going to get the tight ends involved in quick passes. We're going to try to make them have to press up on us, and once they do, we're just going to keep running it, and then if they're giving us shots over the top, we'll take them. That's what Cam Rising's great at, is taking shots over the top. Overall, and then I think kind of like what I just touched on when I was talking about the defense, I think eventually our run game is going to become so much for this defense that the score is going to get a little out of hand. This offense is going to start having to throw the ball a little erratically and start pressing to make plays. Overall, I think we defeat them soundly, 35-14, and I think the score doesn't show really how much we beat them. Overall, 35-14. Like I said, I think they might get some garbage time yards and a touchdown or 2, but I think they're going to press. They're going to make mistakes. Our defense will have a good day. Our offense will have a great day. I think we win this game soundly, and we continue our march on to hopefully an easy game against Arizona. Hopefully we don't let this be a trap game. Hopefully we come in there and just have 100% passion on every play, and then we have another good game against Arizona before we have to go play Oregon. All right, guys. Don't look past Stanford. Please, if any Utah players are listening to this, please get out there and make every play count. Do your assignments and win that game. Guys, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on the video. I love hearing from you guys. And feel free if you guys have any feedback or any content that you think I'm not making that you'd like to hear. Feel free to leave a comment. On that note, guys, have a good one and go Utes.